What's up, guys? My name is Jack. You're watching JBTCG, and today we are talking about CT scanners and how it might affect Pokemon investing and just the Pokemon hobby in general. Today, I've got my scrubs on. I just came back from work, and I felt appropriate to wear scrubs when talking about CT scanning. So if you want my overall opinion, I think this is kind of terrible. It's cool. The general concept of this is really cool. I like the science behind it and stuff like that. But for the hobby, this sucks. But if you want to know what a CT scan is, essentially it's a 3D X-ray. So when you get an X-ray, it sends X-rays through your body and it produces a 2D image. It's generally used to produce one singular image of your body, like a certain body part, like your teeth or your arm or whatever. And the different parts of your body, say things like muscle, fat, and bone, absorb or let these rays pass through you in varying amounts. Bone obviously allows the least X-rays to pass through you, and that's why you see them highlighted on X-rays. That's why they're used to check broken bones, because there's such a contrast between bones and the rest of your body. Now, a CT scan is a little different. You can picture X-rays as kind of like drawing or painting on a single piece of paper, and then a CT scan is making a 3D printed model of that same image. And what it is fundamentally is an X-ray machine, but it kind of rotates around you and takes a bunch of different pictures. And when you put all of them together, kind of stacked on top of each other, they create a 3D image. Now, I'm sure most of you guys know this, but what I wanted to let you know is that it is very feasible to do this with booster boxes. I know this was something that was up in the air, and it seems that the company that is selling the CT scanning service or whatever, which I think is so dumb. I hate that they're doing this. You can disguise it oh, it's a good thing, you get to see what's in your packs, and if it's bad, then you can keep it sealed. But really, it's just another way to exploit the Pokemon secondary market. The only way or reason I could see this being an okay thing to do to your packs or stuff is if you have no intention of selling them. If you love these boxes, you have it for your collection, you want to keep it, and say you have a Supreme Victor's box. That's a super expensive box, and obviously you don't want to risk opening it, and you like having it sealed. But if it had the top hit, if it had that Charizard level X or the Rayquaza C level X and things like that, then to you it would be worth opening it. Then you could scan your box, see what the hits are inside, and be like, okay, well, it didn't have the hits that I want, so I'm going to keep it sealed and keep it on my shelf and never sell it. But is that going to happen? No. This is going to be used purely for profit. All right, I'm on a tangent, but yes, this is definitely doable for booster boxes. If you can CT scan an entire body and look at every single minute detail and component of your body, you can definitely do it with a singular box of cards. And really, this just sucks. And it really, really sucks for people that have invested in vintage or are trying to sell vintage, because there's already enough issues with the pre-code card era with weighing packs and people saying they're unweighed, unsearched, but they are weighed. Now, even the heavy packs aren't safe because sellers can weigh out the packs, and then the heavy ones they can send into CT scanning and see what hollows are in them. Then they can choose the packs with the best hollows and keep them for themselves, open them and sell or grade the top chase cards. And then they can sell the heavy packs that are unsearched to unsuspecting customers that are guaranteed not to have the base set Charizard or the Blastoise or the Venusaur. I don't want to say I can guarantee that this will happen, but I'm 90% sure that this is exactly what's going to happen. All right, Jack from the future here. I promise you'll want to hear this. So I was on the way to the gym and I was thinking, well, what is the Pokemon company going to do to combat the CT scanning, which will become an epidemic? I am pretty certain that this will become a massive epidemic. This will be a huge part of the TCG scene, in not only Pokemon, but sports cards and other Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, other stuff. So I was thinking, how are they going to combat this? And obviously the first thing that came to my mind would be lining the actual pack with some material that doesn't let X-rays pass through very effectively. It can still let them pass through, but something that might make them less effective and might make the image less clear that you get after your CT scan. So essentially something that could hinder the effectiveness of the scan, but it would also have to be cheap. So some studies have found some polymers that can effectively block X-rays. Generally, things that block X-rays, if you aren't aware, are dense materials, like dense metal. Lead is an extremely dense element, and that's why it can block X-rays. And these polymer compounds, these research compounds that they're discovering, they aren't going to be widely accessible. They aren't going to be very cheap and easily mass manufactured, so they can put them into the foil of the pack. But then I stopped thinking about what could they do in the future, and I thought about what they're doing now. And the thought of tins came to my mind. So normally tins are kind of like an afterthought in the Pokemon hobby. It's Yeah, you got your booster box, you got your ETB, those are the two big things. The price per pack of those is like fairly similar. And usually those are the two most expensive things when it comes to price per pack. Like the booster box generally has that like upper echelon premium. ETB is up there, but it's not quite there. And then other things like ancillary tins are generally pretty low. And then maybe some like collection boxes are at the bottom. But these tins are made of a metal, which can block X-rays. It's not the most effective thing, but it can block some X-rays. And I know what you're thinking. Well, like Crown Zenith tins, it's never gonna matter. Like Crown Zenith is not expensive enough at this time for it to be even remotely worth scanning. Well, there are some tins that would be worth scanning. And if the aluminum tin is in fact able to block the CT scan from effectively scanning the cards and effectively creating a 3D image, things like the Supreme Victor's tins, which cost around $1,000 today, might get a premium. Now, this is all speculative. I cannot confirm or deny whether these tins will be able to block the X-rays and block the CT scanning machine from creating an effective image, but there's a chance that it could. And tins like these, which have packs like Supreme Victors inside, may be the only way to guarantee unsearched vintage packs. But I want to make very clear, this is all speculative. I am not certain about any of this. You need to scan one of these vintage tins in order to find this out. Me personally, I'm just hoping that they muddy the water enough in the scans that they can't create an effective image. So now more than ever, it's imperative to be a reputable seller, to do the right thing, not search these packs, not search booster boxes, sell people legit products that they can get hits from and they can get joy from. So do I think it's over for vintage? Well, I don't think it's over, but it will definitely make people on edge about buying vintage packs, and so many more people are going to get taken advantage of, and I think unfortunately will be turned off of vintage Pokemon, which really sucks. Vintage Pokemon is really cool. Wizards of the Coast sets and the EX era are some of the coolest sets with some of the coolest chase cards ever. And obviously everyone's thinking about, base set, people are going to search their base set boxes and pick out the Charizards, but think about Gold Stars. If people can search an entire booster box without tampering with it, without doing anything like that, and it looks legit, and they can check if it has a gold star in it or not, that is wraps for the EX era. And I think the main problem that I'm seeing here is that it's worth it. Even though the CT scanning cost is expensive and like you're looking at your modern packs and like, well, I would never send a Lost Origin pack through this, but sending a booster box of EX era packs through it that might have a gold star, it kind of is worth it. Because those gold star Pokemon are so rare and getting them in good condition is almost impossible nowadays unless you open them fresh from a pack. All right, I've been kind of yapping about vintage and stuff like this. So like, does this impact the vintage market? Yes, this is going to be very much negatively impacting the vintage market. I think reputable sellers who people know in the hobby that know that they're legit, things like that, like Island Grows Pokemon, he's not going to be doing CT scanning on his like booster boxes that he's going to sell to you. He's a very reputable guy. He's been selling booster boxes for a long time and people trust him. I think because of this, people like him will be able to sell their booster boxes at a much higher premium purely because of the trust that people have in them and the lack of risk of buying from him versus some random person on eBay, even if they have good feedback, just because you know he's one of the top and one of the most reputable sellers. So how does this affect modern Pokemon investing? Well, for the moment, it doesn't. It isn't really going to affect your boxes. People aren't going to be sending in your like Twilight Masquerade, even some of your Sword and Shield sets. They're not going to be sending in Lost Origin. They're not going to be sending in Silver Tempest. The cost of the CT scanning of these packs and booster boxes is way too high for it to be worth it to send those in. So for now, we're okay. But what I'm fearful of in the future is that prices will drop. I can almost guarantee this. More people will open CT scanning like businesses where they scan your packs and send them back to you. People are going to replicate this because it's so lucrative and so easy to do. And with that competition, prices of this stuff is going to go down. And eventually it might affect modern, which would really suck. So how do we avoid this and how do we kind of like circumnavigate this? Well, there's kind of a couple things we need to do. First, for acquiring product, we need to buy from reputable sellers. We need to buy just directly from the Pokemon Center, directly from distribution. Now for selling, we need to build ourselves up as being a reputable seller. You need to be that guy that everyone looks at and is like, yeah, that guy would never scan his packs. He would never do that garbage, because you need to be that reputable seller that people can look to and buy from without a care in their mind. The second anyone has any doubt about your character and your intentions with selling your Pokemon products, your sales will drop. So I think now more than ever, it's really important to build up your eBay store or whatever platform you use, to become a super reputable seller. Because with this new discovery, which honestly might not be a new discovery, very well could have been being done in the past with a bunch of other people, and they could be doing this way behind the scenes and none of us had any idea. But now that it's public and people know about it, distrust in the hobby is going to be at an all-time high. So to put it simply, be the guy that people can trust. That's what I'm trying to do. I want to be as transparent as I can. I want to be a good seller. I want to have good seller habits, help people when things go wrong. I don't want anyone that buys from me in the future to have any doubt about my character or my intentions in the Pokemon hobby. And also, I want to do a little brain game here. Let's think about what happens. You send in a base set box from the Wizards of the Coast area, we'll call it $13,000, into one of these companies. They scan it, they see, oh, this set has this box has a Charizard, you have a Venusaur, and you have an Alakazam and a Blastoise. What would prevent them from swapping out a box that, say, they had lying around from their collection or something that they'd bought that just didn't have a Charizard inside with yours? They scan their base set box, send over the scans to you for you to look over and look through and discover, do I have a Charizard? And you don't, because they stole your Charizard. Do you trust these businesses to do the moral right thing, which already is immoral in my eyes? But would you trust them with $13,000? Be like, yeah, they're not gonna scam me. They would never swap out something. These people have no ill intentions. I personally would not. It'll be really interesting to watch the market, especially for vintage, after this kind of becomes more widespread over the next years. It sucks. I'm not really excited for it, but I guess that's just how it's going to be. Anyways, let me know what your thoughts are about all this in the comments. Where do you think the Pokemon Company will go from this? And if you're holding on to vintage product or things like that, like, what are your plans? And yeah, thanks for watching. Stay safe out there and don't scan your packs.